Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are joining us from across the world. Welcome to the World Fitness and Wellness Online Summit. My name is Ross Campbell. I'm the founder and the CEO of Fit Summit. It's a pleasure to welcome each of you online today. First of all, a few thank yous. A huge thank you to our sponsors and partners, the logos of which you'll have seen zooming around the screen over the past couple of minutes. We simply would not be here without their support. So thank you very much to all those involved. Thank you to our speakers. We really have got some of the world's superstars from fitness and wellness and hospitality speaking to you directly over the next few hours. Thank you as well to each and every one of you for joining us here today. We know time is precious. We know that maybe you are zoomed out, that you're webinared out. We're going to try and make sure these next few hours are fun and engaging and beneficial to you, both on a personal development level and, of course, at a business development level. Where are you from? We are based in Singapore. On the right-hand side, you'll see a small chat box. Feel free to drop in your name and company and country. Even better still, drop in the URL of your LinkedIn website just now in the box, right there in the general chat box. Drop it in. If everyone does the same in the next 1 hour, you'll have a lot of networking connections done already. We encourage you to do this across the entire day. We've got live talks. We've had pre-recorded talks because, of course, some of the speakers are not available to join us given the time zone differences. But we've got some incredible talks to either watch or engage in, entirely up to yourself. We've also got live networking with people. Yeah, we can meet incredible people. The networking button is on the left-hand side. Enable your webcam, enable your microphone, and jump on to try and meet some incredible people. Learn, get inspired, grow, hear their own stories, and let's take this back as we can try and regrow the industry. I want to make sure that every single one of you also visits the exhibition. We've got some incredible exhibitors. There's videos, there's live deals for you to enjoy, and again, another slice of networking for you to benefit from. Let's start, ladies and gentlemen. At the moment, I have the absolute pleasure of introducing the first of 3 keynote sessions. Our first keynote speaker is Simon Flint, CEO of Evolution Wellness. Simon has prepared a special presentation for us, and he's going to walk us through that presentation. And then after coffee, he will join us live on our operators panel. Simon is a 25-year industry veteran, and he's successfully grown Evolution Wellness through its merger of Fitness First and Celebrity Fitness into one of the biggest lifestyle brands in Asia Pacific. A true gent, a true thought leader, a true business leader. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Flint.
Hi, I'm Simon Flint, CEO of Evolution Wellness. Evolution Wellness operates 170 sites with 6 fitness and wellness brands across the Southeast Asia region. Given the changing landscape in our sector, and in particular the recent challenges thrust upon it with the COVID-19 situation, I'm going to be speaking to the question, can our industry meet the needs of tomorrow's customer? I hope you enjoy the summit, and I look forward to speaking to you later. Hi everybody, I'm Simon Flint from Evolution Wellness. I'm going to be speaking to the question, can our industry meet the needs of tomorrow's customer? I'm going to go at quite a fast pace because there's a bit to cover, so I hope you can stay with me as we go. Now, before we kick off, I just want to set the scene because I think it's important that we as an industry remain optimistic and keep the belief in what it is that we give society. There are really serious macro tailwinds that can help move our industry forward. One of which is the fact that 41 million deaths a year are attributable, or 71% are attributable to NCDs, non-communicable diseases. That means to a degree they're preventable. It means that our industry has a role to play in adding quality to people's lives and helping people live longer. A benefit for families, a benefit for society in general. Diabetes, one of the fastest growing global health emergencies of the 21st century, projecting 700 million adults will have it in the next 25 years. What role can we play in educating the public that having an active lifestyle, hanging around with healthier people, being part of our community can help influence these dire statistics? Worldwide obesity has tripled since 1975. 38 million children under the age of 5 are obese or overweight. So when you think about this, what does it mean for you and your business? Are we appealing enough to the audiences that really matter? Is there a new opportunity? Can we adapt at this time to take advantage of some of these facts? Healthcare spend is growing at a faster rate than the rest of the economy, accounting for 10% of global GDP. Governments are aware of the gaps that are forecast in how they can meet the rising cost of healthcare. So what can we do to have an influence in that area? Moving to the mental wellness agenda. It's now not taboo to talk about mental health, which is fantastic. But as we talk about it, how can we perhaps position ourselves better to capitalize on the benefits that healthy lifestyles bring? Physical activity is better for wellness. Mindfulness is something that is becoming more spoken about and something that we can perhaps bring into our world a little bit more. 1 in 5 people worldwide have an underlying health condition, and that puts them at risk to the likes of COVID-19. We hear about comorbidities and the incidence of cardiovascular disease and diabetes being particular factors and comorbidities with COVID-19. There are certainly people out there now who are thinking, we may have dodged a bullet this time around, but it's now time for me to get fit, now time for me to dedicate a little bit more to my personal health so I'm not as much at risk. This all presents opportunity. The global wellness market now valued at $4.5 trillion, and our region, Asia Pacific, will overtake North America as the largest market, accounting for 40% of global growth in the next couple of years. So as we think about the challenges ahead and perhaps the need to adapt, let's not forget the fundamentals. Let's not forget how we can play a huge part in affecting and improving these statistics that every government wishes would go away. So when we think about today's customer, no matter what size you are, if you're a big brand, a big box, multi-brand operator, or a single studio, or a cluster of studios, we've all got a range of different customers. And perhaps it's time we just revisit, spend a bit of time on thinking who they are. A couple of random examples. I've got personas on the screen that speak to the different kinds of people we may have as our addressable base. Ellie, a serious athlete, someone who's really dedicated, perhaps someone we'd all like to have in our environments because they're perhaps willing to spend on athletic personal training. That's perhaps an ideal member. Anna, on the other hand, a first jobber, just having some disposable income and thinking about doing something for her well-being. Perhaps exploring on YouTube the kind of things that she could get into. She's looking to join a new community. How might we be positioned to welcome Anna into our communities? Joshua, 34, high-performing exec living a fast-paced, indulgent lifestyle. How do we appeal to someone like that who's living life in the fast lane but perhaps is educated enough to know that he should be considering something else for health? He can certainly afford it. How can we reach out there? Suresh, 45, become aware and conscious of his dad bod. Again, he can afford it, but how do we appeal to someone who is 20 years older than Joshua, for example? Are we trying to appeal to everybody, or are we trying to focus on a certain niche? Well, that's for all of us to think about, but now perhaps is a good time to revisit and consider, should we perhaps adjust our positioning to appeal to a different group, to appeal to a more emergent group and maybe a more lucrative group? Something to think about. That's the demographic set and to a degree the attitudinal set of people. But depending on people's attitude, how do we reach them? How do we get hold of them? We know that most people are consuming media these days through the mobile. Perhaps the older demographic and the office-based demographic does consume some through web on different platforms. Social media, of course, we know is everything these days, Facebook and Instagram in particular, and we all have tremendous opportunities to reach our customers in that area. Then we hear about the world of CRM and the concept of omni-channel marketing. Omni-channel being different from multi-channel, not just reaching people through the different channels you see on the screen, but doing so in a highly coordinated, targeted, and seamless way, so that synergistically each of the messages that reaches a target customer or an existing customer does so in a way that resonates strongly and is seamless. It meets their needs and it connects them, drawing them to our brand. Omnichannel marketing can be tremendously expensive and a hard nut to crack, particularly if we're not a big organization. So I just wanted to use this opportunity to point out the importance of word-of-mouth marketing. It still is the most potent form of marketing there is, and it's broadly free. How do we amplify it? Well, we do that by asking our customers, what would it take for you to be an advocate? An advocate is someone who would answer a score of 9 or 10 out of 10 when we pose the question, how likely would you be to refer somebody else to us? It's free to ask those questions. How could we do it? We could do it through a quick and easy survey monkey, or perhaps we could take a group of customers out for a coffee and ask them that question directly, building a picture of how we could further our business, perhaps more cost effectively than necessarily investing in more paid for marketing efforts. So something to be thinking about. When Evolution Wellness looks at who we're speaking to, we as well have to continually revisit our member base. Now we're doing one of the deeper surveys than we've done for a while. And they can be expensive, but we feel it's necessary to adapt and move with the times. Now, when we look at what our brands stand for, I point to Celebrity Fitness on the screen at the moment, the fitness star makers who help you look and feel sensational. Additional to that statement, we have what we call our brand promise and what our claim to fame is. We have 3 essential claims to fame. Very simply put, we say that every group class feels like a party. Our clubs have the liveliest vibe in town. What does that mean? It means our volume is amped up, our staff are gregarious and energetic, the lighting is right in the group atmosphere, for example. And the third thing, we have everybody feeling like they want to come back again soon. We need to get all of our staff behind those 3 messages each and every day, double down on the behaviors that lead to members feeling that way and helping us fulfill our brand promise. Each of the brands in our portfolio has a brand promise, and it has attributes and behaviors that lead to a better chance of that promise being fulfilled in the eyes of our customer. So what's your brand promise? What do you promise your customers and members they will feel when they come and experience your brand? How can you convey that message to your staff so that they can exhibit certain behaviors to amplify that feeling and help you become more likely to have advocates for your brand? That's perhaps something we can think about now and revisit during this time. So what might we review and rethink? I've put a little copy there of the Playing to Win book that you might wish to Google. It talks about the concept of where do we play? And once we've chosen where we're going to play, how do we play to win? Playing to win means scoring goals. What does it look like to score a goal? Well, perhaps now is the time to think about, again, our business model. What is the customer we're attracting? What is the mode that we operate in? Are we a monthly subscription model? Are we bricks and mortar? Are we online? Can we address our business model from a cost-based perspective? Should we perhaps de-risk our business a little bit by addressing our costs? So addressing the business model is a fundamental starting point as we go through this process of change. Speaking again to the previous slide, therefore, how do we differentiate our brand? Is it time just to think about how we can narrow our focus and perhaps go a little bit deeper on the points of differentiation, the points that make us stand out in this ever competitive landscape? What about our offering? Do we need to introduce new price points, new products, new packaged bundles, for example? Perhaps we've been doing things a certain way for a long time. We certainly have with some of our brand portfolios, and we've decided and to accelerate, in fact, during the lockdown period, a change to some of our offerings to broaden our ability to catch different customers. So perhaps we can step back and review that. Locations tend to be fixed, but as we talk about going forward, do we think about locating in a different way? Has the role of the CBD changed versus the non-CBD. At the moment, the data patterns are suggesting that the CBDs are a little bit quieter with work from home, but let's stay close to monitoring those patterns to see if that changes the way we think about location going forward. And 2 points lastly to consider, which is so crucial at a time like this. Everybody has suffered to a degree during the lockdown. Some countries have allowed governments to step in and help, others less so. So having funding in place and access to capital and the correct governance, the eyes across the ball, if you like, to make sure that we can see our cash flows going forward, taking time to think about that and to really be careful that we don't overstep the mark and get into trouble, that's a really important thing to revisit at a time like this. And perhaps a big question, a question that I hear asked a lot is, well, is it winner takes all when it comes to virtual fitness versus the real world? I perhaps think the answer to that is no. I think there's definitely a role for both. And for us, what we found ourselves doing was accelerating our learning and experimentation in the world of virtual during lockdown. We continue to ask our members what they will be willing to pay for what kind of service, and we're learning as we go along. But one thing's for sure is that the bricks and mortar world provides a feeling that you just can't replicate with virtual, particularly when we're speaking about virtual at home. The intensity of the environment and therefore the effort that someone puts in is likely to be more when there's a real world coach, a real world teacher there to help you and motivate you in real time. Therefore, the end result is likely to be better. Therefore, the sustainability of that real world environment is likely to be a bit better. Perhaps less churn when you've got that real world experience. 38% of our members prioritize social and community above everything else. That doesn't happen in a virtual environment at home. So sustainability of motivation levels I've mentioned in the real world is perhaps going to be a little bit easier, and therefore the perceived value. Harder to get the same kind of revenue, the same kind of value in the home environment. Now, virtual doesn't necessarily mean at home. Virtual in club, of course, is also a very viable proposition. And I would perhaps pose the question, if we're thinking about a hybrid model, does it make sense to introduce more virtual into the bricks and mortar environment, perhaps at more off-peak times, to get people a little bit more used to it and therefore create a bridge between the virtual world and the real world? If people are a bit more used to it, maybe they might embrace it more from an at-home perspective. We've asked our members, would you be likely to use a virtual proposition in a post-COVID return to normal world? And some have said, yes, I may use it if I get stuck in traffic, or I may miss the class that I plan to go. If I can catch one at home, then to me that adds more value to my membership. So that's also something to think about. We don't have to invest a fortune in virtual. I think for well-renowned brands, members would certainly expect it, but there have been some fantastic results with smaller brands using Zoom for online classes, particularly in the yoga world, where we can still give direct feedback and get some connected value in the process. So for me, both are going to be relevant. We know for a fact that when the bricks and mortar environment has reopened up, 42% of the member population has run straight back saying, let me back there, this is all I want. But there's definitely room for both in the long term. That's just a little clip of our Fire Fitness Live proposition there. Now, just before we wrap up, 3 key takeaways. 1, I'd like to reiterate, and I hope I can give a sense of optimism with this message. The fundamental need for our industry is stronger than ever. We must never forget that. We must learn to communicate that louder and prouder than ever before. The lockdown period has in some countries made us a little bit closer to the ministerial level of government. We've got to leverage that opportunity and ram home the message that we need support, we need relevance, and we need our voice amplified so that we can help serve the needs, the health needs of the public. Rethinking is needed. We've definitely got to adapt, and we need to be grounded in research. Big research tends to be expensive, but smaller focus groups, a survey monkey doesn't have to cost much. Make sure that the rethinking, the adjustments that we make are based on real feedback from our addressable audience. And finally, Maintain a change mindset. There's no playbook for this. Nobody is prepared and knows exactly what to do. Therefore, we don't necessarily have the competence. But if we can build competency in having a change mindset, that means that we'll be more likely to adapt with energy than to suffer from any short-term consequences. There's a way to go yet, so let's keep a change mindset. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of the summit, and good luck in bringing your businesses back to full force. Thank you.
Get ready.
We hope you enjoyed a great presentation there from Simon. Simon, thank you very much. We'll see you just after coffee for some live Q&A in the operators panel. Next up, we have the pleasure of speaking directly and interviewing Greg Oliver, CEO and Managing Director of Fitness and Lifestyle Group. FLG for short are one of the biggest companies looking at lifestyle across Asia Pacific. They've grown enormously in the past few years, acquiring new brands, launching new brands, and moving into new geographies. Greg has 40 years of experience in this industry, a true leader known by every single person. Ladies and gentlemen, without hesitation, it's a pleasure to introduce you to Greg Oliver. Greg, thanks very much for joining us here today. Let's jump straight in. How are you assessing at the moment in time the current macro challenges that are hitting our industry at the moment, and how are these impacting some of your business units?
Yeah, thank you, Ross. Thanks for inviting me, and it's a pity that I couldn't be there in person, but that be as it may, it's nice to connect, and hopefully I'll provide some context to some of the questions that you've asked. It's an interesting time for the industry, obviously. I would say that the thematics continue to be very strong, and I think the underlying sort of factors that prevail in terms of our industry, the value of our industry, what we do for our customers is something that is still important. It's going to be important pre-COVID, post-COVID, and I think we're seeing some evidence of that based on recent transactions. Actually, if you look at some of the recent M&A that's occurred during the COVID period, where we've seen record amounts paid for some businesses, and I use the example of F45, the recent transaction that occurred with F45, that clearly shows that investors and capital markets are seeing through COVID and looking at us as a business that we will respond, or an industry that will respond with gusto, and that really gets back to the core of what we do and why we exist. So I think that was really pleasing. I think the thematics continue to be strong. There are some challenges, as we know. Obviously, it's an unprecedented time that we're going through, and so being able to navigate one's way through that is challenging, because there's no script here. There's no book that we can access, but we are operating in flight. We're doing the best we can, and we've seen the industry rally together right across the world to provide resource and access to information to assist everyone in dealing with what is some unprecedented trading conditions. And obviously, the health of the world is impacted at the moment, so we're not immune from that. I think some of the other challenges that have been, opportunities and challenges that are created during this period are really what we are seeing is continual retail dislocation, providing opportunity for our industry to increase our footprints, or provide new, potentially what was tightly held real estate is now becoming available to us. So we are going to see growth opportunities on the back end of COVID being in our rearview mirror, so we can continue to look at opportunities for each of our brands in particular, and the industry will benefit from that. So yeah, there are a number of things. I think customers in general are augmenting their experiences as well. So we are having to deal with that. That's both a challenge and an opportunity. Clearly, we've seen a shift to digital content and being able to provide a more augmented experience in terms of from a brand's perspective, but also as for the industry is reacting to members' dislocation and the challenges that we currently face to create new content and the ability to deliver that to our customers and potentially outside of your traditional customer list.
You've obviously got a range of different businesses, Greg, across fitness and wellness, different types of concepts, different types of platforms. Has there been any of these been impacted specifically by technologies? I know Jets and Good Life, but are some of these trends impacting your businesses in different ways? And if so, maybe elaborate on one example.
Well, certainly we some time ago went down, the path of building a digital content business, and it sits on a platform called Loop. You might know it through Chris Hemsworth's program Centre, and you might also know it through Emily Skye. Her program is an example. They're two examples of some of the content that we produce and sell through the Loop platform. So we did that some time ago, not necessarily thinking that it would become so important during a period such as this, but obviously it's done incredibly well during this period. It's reaped the benefits of people not being able to access physical facilities, etc. And obviously the lockdowns that have occurred throughout the world have forced people to look for different avenues to continue to provide results and continue their fitness journeys, actually. So they've done incredibly well. It has influenced what we've done in the bricks and mortar businesses that we operate. Obviously, the experiences, the learnings that we get from building platforms such as that stands us in good stead when it comes to being able to digitize our content and provide our members with access, again, while they're unable to get to our facilities, but also provide the general families that we're connected with some more information, from some more content to help not only the members but the entire community that they have in their households, and that could be brothers and sisters, it can be families, it can be friends that access our content and continue to sort of have a relationship with us.
We touched on this earlier when we were saying, obviously, the demand for fitness is increasing. You have the acquisition of Gold's Gym by the German fitness group. You have the acquisition of Mirror by Lululemon. So there has been capital flow into the sector. The industry is excited about our future. And of course, so is the consumer. Let's turn it now to looking at government. And of course, we've seen throughout these last few months across the world, there's a disconnect, if you will, Greg, with how government really perceives fitness as part of the healthcare industry. It seems to be part of the problem and not part of the solution. And that's quite worrying. What are your thoughts on this as a dynamic? Is this something we can work on? And how frustrating is this for operators to try and preach to the unconverted?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I know that you and I had some of these discussions previously. So, I think at its core, what we've seen through this period probably highlighted or brought more to the fore the reality that governments aren't drinking the same Kool-Aid as we are in regards to the benefits of what we do and how we impact consumers and how we impact the health of communities, etc. We talk about it a lot. It's the reason we exist. We continue to provide information out to not only governments but associations and different insurers, etc., around the benefits about what we do. I think, unfortunately, what we've seen during this period is that we don't have enough scientifically backed or data-backed information that we can actually provide to government that is specific to us. I think what we see when we're talking about the benefits of exercise and when we're talking about the benefits of being well and healthy and mindfulness, etc., we talk about general populations, and governments continually refer to, or publications continually refer to people that exercise. I think we need to be a lot more specific. I think we need to be, as an industry, a lot more around what are our members doing as compared to the general population. What are the consumers of fitness businesses? How are they being impacted? As an example, post-COVID, it would be great for us as an industry to understand the infection rates of the general population compared to the infection rates of members and customers of ours, specifically customers of ours. And so that starts to build a story. It starts to provide evidence and some science around the claims that we make, and that will get government's attention. At the moment, everything is too anecdotal. And I think case in point for me, and many associations across the world have worked incredibly hard. I've been on a lot of global federation calls with URSA and all sorts of different representatives from various organisations. I think case in point for me is UK Active, which is a very well-funded and very well-resourced association. And I think it represents the industry very well in the UK. To the extent that they weren't able to provide enough evidence and to have government recognise the work that they'd done in terms of their COVID safe plan, in terms of the information they were providing in regards to mindfulness, the benefits of exercise, and to see what happened, that pubs and clubs, as an example, were opened well before fitness, to me highlighted when we've got a well-structured organisation that's talking about the messages that we know and all agree with, that still wasn't getting cut through at government, suggests to me that we just don't have enough data, enough science to be able to convince government that the messages that we're trying to say are actually real and able to be proven. And so I think what I'd love to see is a coalition of the association, of all of our associations, including URSA, including UK Actives and other, the Fitness Australia, etc., a coalition of these associations put together with a mandate and some resourcing around and some resources to enable us to actually prove once and for all that our members, not the general population who are exercising, our members have significant health benefits over the general population based on the fact that they're using our facilities and using our programs, etc. So I think there's a lot of work to do, and there's a couple of big statements there that need a lot of validation. But I think at the end of the day, we don't have the data to be able to provide enough evidence to government that our product is actually making a difference. I think there's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there.
I mean, we have saw a lot of collaboration across the industry in these past few months to obviously tackle the COVID challenge. Do you think it's possible and realistic to try and energize these associations to really work together towards this common goal? Does it have to be underwritten to a degree by industry? Does it have to be some involvement of government funding? Because we have saw other parts of government, fund healthcare research. That is there as part of their if you will, their own backing up for their healthcare systems. does government also have to step in and perhaps help fund some of this research? Or is it really reliant on us as industry to get that to them?
Yeah, look, it's a great question as well. And I think ideally we want governments to participate in this. Obviously, there's benefit for all of us in producing this information and producing this data and being able to understand it and then actually use that information to change the course of opinion, but also get better buy-in from medical and insurers, et cetera, et cetera. I think, again, if you just look at fundamentally, we need to know that our customers are less needy in terms of, when you look at communal health, the health benefits, certainly in Australia as an example, where we've got a communally based cost base for health insurance. The reality is we need to know that our customers are using less of that spend. We need to know that our customers are spending less on sickness than customers or the general population. These sorts of things are really important because, again, unfortunately, money is going to be a key driver of the decision. And to the extent that governments have to invest less in a customer that uses a member, that uses our facilities as compared to the general population, well, then we start to get cut through, we start to get influence, and we can be at the table when these decisions are being made. But certainly at the moment, I think what we've seen is throughout COVID, we've seen a disregard or a lack of respect for our industry in the outputs that we provide for not only communities but certainly for governments themselves in regards to the spend, the healthcare spend. So it's been an awakening, I think. So the ball's in our court. I mean, we need to, as an industry, and people of influence in our industry need to push our associations down this path, and then we need to get a coalition together to think. And certainly, this is something that's I'm passionate about. But the reality is, we need a lot more people passionate about it for this to actually, for the rubber to hit the road. But I'd certainly. It was an interesting discussion I had with IRSA recently, some of the guys, some of the folks at IRSA. And I think that was what they were feeling. They were feeling that government wasn't listening to their message or hadn't really bitten into to their message around building healthy communities and healthy individuals through our programs, etc.
Yeah, I think we've heard the same, Greg. And I think what's quite interesting dynamic that we see is the local influence with provincial governments and local governments seems to be pretty influential. And as you move up the chain towards a more national levels of Ministry of Health, the message just seems to just fade away. And again, the influence is lost at that higher level. So we have saw some great examples of companies do some really good work with local government. I know even your folks up in Vietnam have done some great work with the governments there. I know as well, the teams in Bangkok and Thailand have also had some really successful and productive meetings at a provincial level. But again, it's a real challenge to step into that national level of influence. Let's use that as a dovetail, Greg, and let's maybe look at Southeast Asia, because you have done an incredible amount of business and investment there in the past 12 to 24 months. What's your take on the region and what's your plans in the next couple of years?
Yeah, thank you. We love what we've done up in Southeast Asia, in particular the two core markets that we're in, Vietnam and Thailand that you mentioned. Love working with the teams up there. The people. It's been fantastic for us to embark on the Southeast Asian expansion. We've enjoyed it. We enjoy the markets. We think there's a lot of opportunity up there. I think we've built solid bases in both of those countries in particular, so we'll continue to invest in the core there rather than become a little fragmented across many geographies in Southeast Asia. I think what we've got is we've got a couple of regions that we've done a fair bit of assessment and analysis in. We've got starts in Thailand and have done very well, and Mike and the team up there have done an incredible job of rolling out that product up through Thailand, and we'll continue to do that. Vietnam obviously is a bigger business for us. We've bought into a bigger business there, but we've certainly had the foundations to be able to grow from what had been done for the years prior to our ownership period. So we're looking forward to continue to provide some some assistance, both capital and advice and strategy where required for the guys in Vietnam to continue to grow there. We have got to start in Singapore with Barry's, and we'll continue to build out the Barry story throughout Southeast Asia as we want to do. Obviously, we're all a little impacted in terms of our timings with COVID, providing some delay to some of the projects, etc. But we'll be back into those very soon, and looking forward to our second site in Singapore opening in the next few months, actually. So we will be building that as we speak. That's being built as we speak. So yeah, we're very excited about the region. We think it offers, for us, it really offers a fair bit of, well, certainly we're a diversified business both geographically and also by brand and by offer, and so we think that stands us in good stead in terms of being able to withstand some of the regional macro issues that can occur from time to time, but also take advantage of what we see as an emerging market and high growth opportunity for us in Southeast Asia.
I mean, home for you has always been Australia and New Zealand, a much more mature marketplace, a lot more sophistication, perhaps in the products that are being established for a few years now. What's your thoughts on the future of Australasia for the next couple of years? Is there just as much growth upside there to chase? Is there new demographics that you want to try and engage? I know that you've obviously got more brands that are swimming in those waters. What are your thoughts for your home market?
Yeah, it's been the engine for us. Clearly, the foundations of the company have been built in Australia. So we recognise that they're still the biggest providers of growth capital for us to be able to sort of look at these different regions and different offerings that we put together. For example, Loop, and I probably didn't mention, just to go back to the previous question, the digital business that we've built, the opportunity for us to sort of continue to see that grow into Southeast Asia and look at not only our existing products and launching those into different markets throughout Southeast Asia, but we can also look at introducing new influencers, new celebrity from those regions to reside on the Loop platform, where it's not capital intensive. It's really about being able to sort of potentially see us transact in other parts of Southeast Asia that we might not be putting, a whole lot of money in the ground, if that makes sense. So that was just to round out that previous question. But yeah, Australia is very important. The foundations are here. It does provide a lot of our capital to be able to grow all of our, not only our brands, but beachhead some of our regions, etc. So. We've been delivering like-for-like growth here, same-store growth, whichever way you would like to describe it, for the last 10 years. And we've been able to do that because this is the macroeconomics of the country are both here and New Zealand, are very solid. We are a more mature fitness market. We are continuing to see penetration growth, and generational change is really helping to achieve that. As the consumer matures, his siblings, the families continue to sort of look at this product as being their first stop in regards to their fitness and health needs. And so we continue to see that compounding effect of generational change driving growth in these core markets. I think the other thing here is it's really interesting when you consider the business that we have built out of 24 million people. You couldn't do that with a one modality or one brand. You really needed a multi-brand strategy to be able to achieve the numbers that we needed to fuel the growth that we wanted throughout the region. So that's both in terms of consumer preference and what consumers are looking for, both in terms of augmenting their exercise routines and trying new product, etc., as well as the ability to grow into markets that potentially, from a socio-economic perspective, price and offer are important. We need to be able to pivot and have brands that would fit multiple needs.
You've obviously invested quite significantly across all of those brands and multiple geographies. Let's maybe talk about investing internally and perhaps maybe about culture and values. I know that FLG, being such a diverse brand and family, group. How have you managed to maintain throughout this crisis, and indeed throughout these years, Greg? I mean, 40 years you've been in this business. What are your thoughts on developing company culture, on instilling values, and having them resonate across multiple brands?
Yeah, I mean, for the first part of the question, I think it sort of really is touching on the capital allocation, and bearing in mind that we grew up not only investing our own capital many years ago with different brands, and morphed into operating under a public company structure. Capital allocation is a critical part of my role and critical part of the executive team's role. And the discipline that creates also is a great teacher for people that are involved with us, in terms of, if you are in a diverse organisation such as we are, anyone that is putting up programs and projects is fighting for capital that potentially could be going somewhere else and giving greater returns. So there's a discipline that creates, and a sophistication that is required to be successful, of which starts to permeate throughout your organisation. And therefore, people are very considered in terms of what they want to do. They're more methodical, and they are more detailed in terms of their planning, because they do know that it's not infinitum. We don't have a liquidity level that suggests that we can fund everything we want to do. I would love to do much more than I'm able at the moment, as most people would be, in particular in these times. So we have built that discipline, and it is a really interesting project and program for people to go through. But it also, as people progress through our organisations, they see that sophistication, they see the level of detail, and that helps to form who they are, and also how they approach business in general. So it's a great teacher. But that sort of morphs into that next part of the question, which talks about culture. I think really there's two parts to it. One is, what you create, and the other is how it builds organically within an organisation, and really gets back to how we are as humans, what we aspire to be, how driven we are, how accountable, authentic. It goes to all of the qualities that you would imagine leadership should contain. And but at its core for us, it's about customer. It's about how we continue to solve for our customers' needs, and solving for customer problems or customer needs is another way of talking about innovation. So I see that with customer at heart, with accountability, discipline. The more that we display that at a corporate level, that permeates throughout our organisation, and we build people, like-minded people, organically build like-minded people throughout the organisations. And I think if you talk to people that have joined us through this journey, some that we've acquired and some that we've grown throughout the business, whether it's through the first 7 clubs at Good Life, or whether it's through Fitness First, or whether it's through some of the other brands that we've acquired, whether some of those are Recreations as an example, or Genesis. All of the people that have come along this journey have appreciated that they've been able to potentially learn new skills and see a way of operating that potentially is something that they hadn't actually thought of prior to joining us, or looking at the data, the digital solutions that we've provided, the analytics that we provide, the way we think about data, etc. So all of that, again, I think helps to form a culture that sort of permeates right throughout the different parts of the organisation. Because it is harder when you do run multiple brands. Obviously, each of the brands have got their own reason for being. They've got a customer proposition. They've got some nuances in terms of how they want to manage their people. But essentially, if those fundamentals are still they become the pillars of their cultural platforms, I think what we see is this consistency across the whole group, which is around drive, around customer, around growth, and around accountability. And so those fundamentals seem to stand us in pretty good stead across each of the businesses we work with.
Thanks, Greg. We always end an interview by trying to give advice to somebody, whether it's an entrepreneur, whether it's a graduate coming into the industry. I want to try and do something a little bit different, Greg. I want to try and give your you to give yourself advice, if you could time travel 12 months back to 2019, what would you tell your former self?
Yeah, you did write this question down, Ross, and it's a really interesting one for me to contemplate. Because, of course, we could all be geniuses in hindsight, and especially in the last 3 to 6 months with what's happened. You could go back and say, maybe I should have been more risk adverse, maybe I should have held more capital, or maybe I should have. There'd be probably 5 or 6 things that this is exposed that we possibly could have thought of differently prior to the inverted commas COVID period, which we'll all forget at some stage, hopefully, or remember for the right reasons. But I tend not to look back too much. I tend to make sure that I don't look back at missed opportunities potentially. I look forward a lot, and I deal with the present, obviously, and I do like to look forward. Sometimes you look back and think about some decisions that were made or decisions you should have made, and in hindsight sometimes is a great teacher, but then it's also sometimes for me, it could be a roadblock to continue to make decisions for the future. So I'm not answering the question directly. I'm sure if we talked about some of my own personal investments, or we talked about some of the other pursuits that we all embark on, there'd be probably things that I would say 12 months ago, I probably would have made some different decisions. But generally, I'm really happy with the directions that we've taken. Again, I think you'd be a very unusual human being not to have made some decisions that probably haven't borne out as well as what you would have hoped. But that's the lesson of trying things and failing rather than not trying something at all and probably being a little too conservative. So specifically, there's not a lot that I would say that I could change. I mean, we can't go back and change things, but the reality is some of those experiences should change the future and help me look at things with a new lens going forward, and potentially, therefore, start to influence some of the other team members that we have in regards to how they think about business as well. But I'm a glass half full guy, and I still think that there's so much opportunity for all of us, and so looking back doesn't really do me a lot of favours in some respects.
Well, I think these last few months, as challenging as they have been and as tragic for some as they are, I think if they forever change our industry fundamentally and structurally for the better and make more people happier and healthier, well, it's a good challenge to go through, and let's all go through it together. Greg, thank you very much for your time, for the conversation. Very much enjoyed that. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Oliver.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Our industry, ladies and gents, has been founded on entrepreneurship from the very start. And there's no better recognized entrepreneur than Nerio Alessandri, the founder and chief executive officer of Technogym. Over decades, he has built this company from an equipment manufacturing company into one of the most acclaimed equipment and technology companies working within fitness, wellness, hospitality, and the wider healthcare systems. Nerio was kind enough to share some of his insights on the marketplace directly from the Technogym village in Italy. And we thank Nerio and his team for their huge support and, again, helping us really transition into this digital future that we're all now embracing. It's with a huge pleasure that I can welcome you onto the stage, Nerio Alessandri.
Dear Ross and dear Fit Summit friends, welcome to the Technogym Village, a true example of the wellness lifestyle. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us. We are proud to be the founding partner of Fit Summit, the world's largest online fitness and wellness event. It's a real pleasure to virtually meet you today. It does not feel the same as meeting in person, but we felt it was important to share with you our innovation. With that said, there is no better way to kick off this event than with some inspiring words from our founder and CEO, Mr. Nerio Alessandri.
Dear friends, thank you for your time. Innovation is Technogym's DNA. Technogym believes in digital since ever. 25 years ago, we launched My Wellness, the first software to manage training. We introduced in the market the first connected smart equipment 10 years ago. In 2012, we launched the first cloud and My Wellness app. Today, 15 million people are connected to the Technogym ecosystem in 18,000 centers in the world. Our vision is to be wellness lifestyle solution provider. Wellness lifestyle means education, technology, design, content, training experience, anywhere and anytime. Our Wellness on the Go strategy is now reality, thanks to our unique ecosystem. People can enjoy the training experience live and on demand, at club, at home, and outdoor. Talking about the post-lockdown, each crisis creates problems in the short term, but huge opportunity in the mid-long term. The recent crises have accelerated digital transformation. In this scenario, health, fitness, and sports centers have a crucial role to manage wellness lifestyle, thanks to the Technogym ecosystem. We are in the digital economy, the sharing economy. Nobody can play alone. Today, the secret of success is to select the right strategic partners and to create trust. Trust is crucial. Consumers ask motivation, fun, engagement. We need to deliver variety, personalization, and result. Today I am excited to launch 3 amazing innovations. Technology Live, the new content open platform and console. The new mobile My Wellness app 5.0. And the new Excite Cardio line. Fitness operator. You can deliver engaging training experience by leveraging both our contents and your contents. Let's move for a better world.
I don't really care, I'ma be a...
Everybody wanna know me. It's written. DJ play it again, like.